Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
When I say us, I mean not me.
That's right. Blame it on the production crew.
Blame it on them.
Today I have
Sorry.
co-creator, executive producer, and actress in the new female-led series Lioness on Paramount Plus. And the first question I have to ask you, Jill, is when you're sitting there writing the script, what is in your coffee? That is
Well,
so in.
okay, so I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. So my husband and I, we came up with the concept for this show one night in our backyard, bottle of whiskey and a bonfire. We brought it to Taylor, and it is his mind that has taken it to the place that it's in right now. He is beyond incredible. He's got this. I don't actually know how he does it, to be honest with you. Like I'll get, he has the ability to go into so many different worlds in such detail. And he's on a different level than most people. I just got to tell you that.
The episode I was watching, I was in it. It was very intense. The rescue of the senator. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think too, I asked him one day when I was sitting at the monitors with him, and I was like, how do you know where to place the cameras? And it seems like such an easy thing as a director. You're just like, oh, I just know what. It's not. And it means everything. And he doesn't really think twice about it. It's just like he knows. And he did tell me, he was like, it's just instinct. It's just my instinct of how I would want to see it. But it doesn't happen like that. I've been on a lot of sets, and it just doesn't happen like that. So it's a real gift that he has, just to know those angles. And they're not always the same, right? They always change, but he just knows.
Let's talk about the girl power on this. You have co-star and executive producer Zoe Saldaña and Oscar-winning actress and executive producer Nicole Kidman. How is this working? I mean, this is a lot of girl power.
When Taylor and I were talking about who Joe was going to be, he mentioned Zoe. And I was always a huge fan of Zoe. She's the first real star I ever met in Hollywood when I moved out there. And I remember she was so kind to me. I was doing a table read that she was doing a movie on, and she walked around the room and she shook everyone's hand, including me. And I had like, I don't know, I had like one line. I was like, oh my gosh, just don't even look at her. Just don't. And she looked me in the eye and she said, so nice to meet you. And I remember right then, I thought, that's how I want to be in the industry. Like that, she set the bar for me. She set the bar high. So when he said Zoe, I was like, oh my gosh, if you can get her, yes. And he was like, I think I can get her. So after we got Zoe, then he was like, I think I got Nicole. I'm like, dude, I mean, he has so much pull because he's so talented, because people they trust his vision, they trust his writing. I mean, he's not, I won't say he's easy to work for, because he takes you to your limit, right? He tests you as an actor, as anybody that works with him. He's like, I want the best of the best. But I think that's what you want, right? When you're working with someone, you want to be your best. So you want someone to challenge you. So I really love that about him.
Tell us about your character, Bobby.
Bobby is Bobby is somebody different. She is somebody different than I have ever played. I didn't quite know how to get a hold of Bobby at first. I was like, who is this? Like, she's a bit of a, I feel like she's kind of always kind of grumpy. She just kind of wants to be left alone, and she wants to like complete the mission. We'll tell you, Bobby is very loyal, though. That is one thing that I know about this character, and just kind of working her and finding out she loves to play with the boys. The guys are her best friends, but she is very loyal and she has a love of country. And so when you give her a job, that's a mission, she will complete it, and she's very good at what she does. Obviously, she's the guys in her group. There's a reason she's the leader of the QRF, is because she's proven herself, not because she's the only female, not because she's proven herself. and I don't really like to think of them as females and males, or I just like they're just strong characters. He just writes strong characters, you know, and I was hoping that the guys that would watch this show wouldn't say, oh gosh, here we go, like a bunch of women beating up on guys. It's not that, and that's not what Taylor wanted. I think he just wanted to show a different side of our military and our you know, there's women out there doing these jobs that are very good. And I don't think it's ever been portrayed on TV or film the way in which Taylor is doing it right now. And that's why it was so important when we brought this to him. That's what my husband and I wanted. That was my whole thing. I don't think that women have been portrayed. I don't want to take the spotlight off of men at all, because I love that. I'm married to one. I'm married to a guy in the Army. He's brilliant, but I just think there's another spotlight for the women. You know, that's all.
You know what? Speaking of that, and I'm thinking about the training and the physicality of the entire movie and what you guys have to go through. Talk a little bit about that. And one more thing I'm going to say before you talk about that. I want Zoe to have a little more power in her punch from now on. So
I'm like, well, first of all, Zoe is a tiny, like she's compact, right? And so when I have to say, I was a little protective of Zoe in that scene when with Kyle. I was like, I don't want him to, like, but it's all Bobby. Bobby is in my head. Like, I don't want anybody to hurt her. I don't want it, because Bobby is, I have kind of created her to be a little bit of like Joe's bulldog. You know, so she's always kind of watching Joe. She's always kind of making sure that Joe's okay. Not that Joe needs that, but I just think it's put on Bobby. That's part of her job, is that's her boss, and she makes sure that like no one messes with her. That's why in episode 2 you see Bobby step in the middle of Joe and Josie, and obviously those are like two tigers going at each other, two lionesses going at each other.
You know, and speaking of that scene, it was really interesting. He says, right now, you shouldn't be doing this. Right now, you should be talking to your family. And I was right there with her when she was emotional talking to her family.
Oh, that was the one scene I have cried every single time I've seen it, because, and it's not just, of course, I'm thinking the character, but my mind takes me to every parent that has had to go off and fight for our country and be away from their children, and they have that call home. And that, I mean, I could cry just talking about it. It is everything to me. That scene was everything to me, and she played it so beautifully. And I hope that the people that watch that scene, I hope it does get them like that. And I hope they remember the sacrifice that men and women that they have just going over and fighting for us. You know, they're leaving their own behind. So that's a really special scene to me.
Same here, and then it did get to me. I've been speaking to Jill Wagner. We've been talking about Lioness on Paramount Plus. Thank you for you and your husband in the backyard with the whiskey and coming up with this idea. It is great. Thank you again, Jill.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.